Pavel Chekov, the enthusiastic Russian ensign-turned-starfleet officer, is often remembered for his youthful energy, endearing accent, and moments of comic relief across Star Trek, the original series and its subsequent films. But beneath that spirited demeanor lies a secret pain, one that never received the attention it deserved, especially in William Shatner's 1989 directorial effort, Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. While the movie centered on themes of faith, trauma, and searching for God, it curiously omitted one of its most emotionally ripe opportunities: Chekov's psychological scars, especially those tied to his long Starfleet journey and his unique experiences with loss, identity, and survival. In a film that dared to explore Spock's strained family ties and McCoy's guilt over euthanizing his father, why did it sideline Chekov's inner turmoil? The answer is as frustrating as it is revealing. A character too often played for laughs. From the moment Walter Koenig debuted as Pavel Chekov in Season 2 of the original series, he was portrayed as a charismatic, loyal member of the crew, eager to prove himself and filled with national pride. Modeled partially as a youthful addition to appeal to a younger demographic and to resemble a certain Beatles haircut, Chekov was largely comic relief, making quips about how everything was invented in Russia. Yet Chekov's tenure on the Enterprise was far from humorous. He was tortured in The Wrath of Khan, possessed by alien parasites in the Tholian web, and lost fellow crew members in several tragic missions. The character had experienced enough personal trauma to warrant deeper exploration, something Star Trek V, with its psychological themes, was uniquely positioned to do. But it didn't. Star Trek V's missed opportunity. The Final Frontier was an ambitious, flawed film that dared to ask profound questions. What does God need with a starship? Can even Starfleet officers heal from old wounds? Spock's brother Sibik is introduced as a charismatic zealot who forces others to relive their deepest pain, only to take it away. McCoy, for example, confronts the guilt of euthanizing his dying father. Spock revisits his childhood shame at being a half-human outcast. But Chekov? The film gives him almost nothing. There's a moment where Sibik tries to manipulate Chekov and Sulu during their capture, but we never see Chekov's inner fears or past regrets. He's reduced to comic relief and tactical duties once again. Why? It's possible that William Shatner's directorial focus was too concentrated on Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, the classic triad, to make room for deeper explorations of the rest of the bridge crew. But it's a creative oversight that glosses over rich material. Chekov's traumas were right there in canon. If any character had a vault of personal anguish, it was Chekov. Let's look at 3 key moments that could have easily been tapped for Star Trek V. 1. The Wrath of Khan, the Seti Eel incident. Chekov's horrific encounter with Khan Noonien Singh in Star Trek II left emotional and literal scars. The infamous Seti eel, inserted into Chekov's ear, was a terrifying sequence. While he recovered physically, one has to wonder about the lasting psychological trauma. Imagine being controlled by an alien creature, used against your friends, and barely surviving. That's ripe territory for guilt, PTSD, and questions about one's autonomy. Had Sibik drawn this memory to the surface, the audience might have seen a very different side of Chekov, one far removed from the cheerful Russian navigator. Instead of confronting this agony, the Final Frontier quietly ignores it. 2. Starfleet's losses and survivors' guilt. Chekov, like the rest of the Enterprise crew, witnessed the deaths of many colleagues. Redshirts under his command died in away missions. Entire ships fell in combat. Starfleet's battles with Klingons, Romulans, and even the Mutara Nebula's Genesis explosion came at great cost. As a senior officer, Chekov would have felt some degree of responsibility. Sibok's method of healing could have brought this survivor's guilt to light. Perhaps Chekov harbored guilt over not being able to save colleagues, or even blamed himself for the death toll under Admiral Kirk's orders. That emotional exploration could have made Chekov's arc more profound, especially in contrast to Kirk's own refusal to face his pain. 3. Cultural alienation and identity. Though portrayed with humor, Chekov's exaggerated nationalism hints at a deeper issue: identity in a universe where Earth cultures have supposedly blended. By the 23rd century, national boundaries have blurred, but Chekov clings tightly to his Russian heritage. It's a defense mechanism. Amid the galaxy-spanning chaos of Starfleet life, Chekov grounds himself in a homeland he may barely remember. This identity struggle could have been magnified in Star Trek V. Perhaps Chekov never truly felt at home, not on Earth, not among Vulcans, not in the vastness of space. He clings to his accent and pride because it reminds him of who he is. This existential longing, where do I belong, would have fit perfectly with the film's central theme of spiritual search and inner peace. William Shatner's Blind Spot. It's no secret that Star Trek V was very much Shatner's film. As both director and leading man, he leaned heavily into Kirk's philosophical musings and his own refusal to let go of pain. That's compelling in its own right, but it leaves the rest of the crew as underdeveloped chess pieces. Sulu and Uhura have a flirtatious moment. Scotty bonks his head in a slapstick gag. Chekov gets a scene or two, but little that deepens his character. It's as if the movie forgot these officers had lives, histories, and traumas of their own. Whether due to studio constraints, limited runtime, or creative focus, Chekov's emotional depth was once again swept under the rug. And that's a shame, because Walter Koenig was more than capable of delivering a serious, heartfelt performance. We saw it in The Wrath of Khan. We could have seen it again here. What might have been? A scene that never was. Imagine a deleted scene in Star Trek V. Chekov sits alone after Sibik has offered to relieve him of his pain. The Russian officer, hesitant at first, agrees. The screen darkens. We flash back to The Wrath of Khan. He's screaming in agony as the eel burrows into his ear. We see flashes of fallen comrades, vaporized friends, the haunted look on his face after the Genesis detonation. He sees himself on the bridge, smiling, wearing a mask to hide the years of guilt and fear. And then Sibik offers comfort, to let it go. To be free. Chekov refuses. I have to remember, he says in a trembling voice. Because if I forget, then I wasn't strong enough to survive it. That moment would have elevated Chekov to the level of the other leads. It would have shown us a man hardened by trauma, shaped by duty, but still resilient. It would have given him dignity beyond comic timing. The legacy of unseen pain. In recent years, especially following Koenig's reflections on the character and the tragic passing of Anton Yelchin, who brought a new depth to Chekov in the Kelvin timeline films, fans have begun to reappraise the original Chekov. He wasn't just the comic relief or the Russian accent guy. He was a survivor, a symbol of youthful hope in a dangerous galaxy. Star Trek V could have honored that legacy. It could have peeled back the cheerful facade and allowed us to see the pain behind the optimism, to remind us that even the most upbeat officer aboard the Enterprise had ghosts he carried through the stars. Conclusion: Chekov deserved more. In a film that was meant to be about